Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Glory Hunter. Today we are back with episode 10, and I'll be honest, this is probably my favourite episode in terms of gameplay of the whole series so far, as we approach the crunch period in the season. With 3 tough games away in the league and also our Europa League last 16 tie against Feyenoord, with both legs coming in this episode. So if you're excited for the conclusion of the season, make sure to smash the like button and subscribe so that you don't miss an episode going forward. Here you can see our fixtures, like I said, 3 tough away games and then the home and away legs against Feyenoord. But before heading into the first game of the episode, we had an interesting job offer come in to manage the Croatian national side. And I'll be honest, I was sort of pondering and thinking about this job for quite a while. Before finally we did end up rejecting it, because I'm not against trying to win one of the national trophies, so the Euros or the World Cup, with sort of an underdog side, but at the moment we haven't played in any of the national tournaments so far, and I'm waiting for one of the big boys to offer us one of the jobs. Obviously we've got Euro 2024 as the next tournament. And I'd like to go into that with one of the sort of bigger sides, maybe an England or a France or even a Spain, and try and give that a really good go. But I was thinking about that Croatia job offer for quite a while, because I was tempted to, like I say, go with one of the underdog sides, and especially Croatia. Obviously in recent years their record in national tournaments is fantastic. Obviously got to the final of the World Cup in 2018. And then obviously in the recent World Cup finished 3rd place, I think. They did. They beat Morocco in the 3rd place playoff, didn't they? To finish 3rd in the most recent World Cup. So they've done really well. Did well in the Euros as well. So I was really tempted to take that job offer. The main reason why I didn't, and like I say, I sat and sort of thought about it for quite some time. The main reason that I didn't end up taking the job was because we don't have as many chances to win the national tournaments as we do with the club trophies that we're trying to win. And I didn't want to sort of not waste one of our chances, because there's no reason why we couldn't win something with Croatia. But if I get one of either the World Cup or the Euros in the bag, I'd be kind of tempted to try and take one of the underdogs and try and win a major tournament for their country. And I quite like Croatia as well. They've got a lot of good players, a couple of experienced heads, and a few young players coming through as well. So I was really tempted by it, but with us not having played in a national tournament so far, decided against it. And I was sort of, as I was sitting there thinking about it, I was sort of comparing it to like a club job offer, and I was thinking, if the likes of, just as an example, one maybe more of an underdog side like a Newcastle in the Premier League, or possibly in the French league, like a Lyon or a Monaco or someone like that, sort of offered us a job, then I'd be quite tempted to take it, and I probably would, obviously depending on the circumstances. But with it being a national team, I really just want to get one of the big boys, so that we have a real shot at winning Euro 2024, and then we can sort of go from there. Because if we don't win Euro 2024, then obviously we have another 4-year wait until we can win the Euros again. Obviously this is a limited time series, so yeah, I was really tempted by it, but decided against it. But anyway guys, jumping into the gameplay for today's episode, like I said at the beginning, one of my favourites from the whole series so far. In the first game we were away at Real Sociedad, and it was a tough game. They were sat in 7th in the league, I believe, before the game. We'd made a few changes with some important fixtures coming up, and it was a really tough game. And the 2 goals that we scored in this game, you'll have seen them, both absolutely fantastic. First, Adama Traore with his first goal in the league since coming in, and he's had the exact sort of impact I was hoping for when we signed him in January. Doesn't start every game, isn't always influential, but he makes a massive difference off the bench. He's been a really good sort of squad player for us, and he has come up with some big goals. Obviously scored the 2 in the Copa del Rey first leg semi-final against Real Betis. And in this game scored an absolute wonder goal. Not really something you'd associate with his game, cutting in from the right hand side onto his left foot, but it was some great work from Correa down in the corner, nipped the ball back, and Adama cuts inside onto his left peg and hits it, and it was such like a clean goal. I love them where it hits the crossbar, like bounces down kind of over the line and then back out again. It looks so clean when it happens. That was absolutely fantastic. And then late on in that game, Adama had a chance to make it too. I thought the keeper was going to come out. You will have seen it in the highlight. I thought he was coming out, so I hit it quite early. I actually had more time. But from the resulting corner, it was cleared. We played it back into the back post. And João Felix on his left foot. I mean, he's been absolutely fantastic this season for us. Started off a little bit slow. I wasn't really getting on with him. But after the first few months of the season, he's just been absolutely fantastic. And the finish on the volley at the back post on his weaker left foot, he just sort of like lofted it and guided it into that far corner. So brilliant win in the first game of the season. Obviously, as we're coming towards the end of the campaign and domestic season, with the gap that we have currently over Barcelona, we're just sort of taking every game as it comes. Like I said at the beginning of the episode, 3 really tough away games in this episode, but we're just taking every game as it comes. That one there looked as if we may potentially drop points, but we managed to get the job done, get the 2-0 victory with a slightly rotated side as well. So that meant for this next game against Feyenoord in the Europa League, round of 16, meant that we could go back to pretty much our full strength team, and well, within half an hour we were 2-0 up, and it looked as if we were absolutely flying. First goal was scored by Rodrigo de Paul. I brought him in for this game because basically between the midfield options we have, Thomas Partey's obviously more defensive and just sort of sits, but Rodrigo de Paul gives us so much energy, and obviously we've got Llorente next to him who's quite similar in that sort of box-to-box nature, but I really have enjoyed using Rodrigo de Paul this season, and I quite like him and Llorente. Like I say, Partey sort of offers us a bit more defensive stability, but I do like de Paul and Llorente as that double pivot. He grabbed the first goal before João Felix absolutely just bamboozled Jason Denier. Quite an experienced defender, but he just couldn't get anywhere near him. Drilled the ball home past the keeper to give us a 2-goal lead, and it looked as if we were absolutely cruising, but just after the restart, Feyenoord would find a way back into the game. And it was a bit of a weird one because it was a near post finish, and Oblak sort of seemed to dive out of the way of the shot. It was a weird one. I wouldn't say I necessarily blamed Oblak, but basically if he'd stood up and just made himself big, the ball would have just hit him and he would have saved it. But it did give Feyenoord a route back into the game. What I would say from this game is Feyenoord were pretty good coming forward, actually provided a threat, unlike a lot of sides that you do face in career mode. But defensively at the back, they just were not strong enough. And we did get a third from a corner. We don't score a huge amount of goals from set pieces, but as the ball was sort of worked back into the box, it was nodded down to Correa, who took it on the volley. It was an absolutely fantastic finish from Angel Correa with another goal. He's been fantastic in the Europa League as well. Obviously scored, I think, a couple of goals in the Union Berlin tie. And him and Felix have been fantastic for us. But right at the death, we were sitting pretty comfortable at 3-1. But Feyenoord did get a bit of a cheap corner from us sort of failing to clear our lines. And, I mean, just FIFA things right. The keeper came up. It was the first leg of a Europa League knockout. I'm not sure in real life the keeper would be coming forward for that. Obviously, a fourth goal on the counter would absolutely kill the tie off. A 3-1 going back home, you're still sort of in the tie. And I'll be honest, when I saw the keeper up, I was thinking, right, let's try and kill this off on the counter. like I just said. But unfortunately, they managed to get another corner. I'd actually moved Llorente off the near post because I wanted someone forward for the counter-attack. Moved him off the near post. That's exactly where the corner landed, and it was Santiago Jimenez for Feyenoord, who fired in another goal to make it 3-2. We did manage to hold on for the victory, but obviously makes it a little bit more sort of open when we go back to Rotterdam for the second leg. Means that they've sort of given themselves a chance, and to be honest, to Feyenoord, they just didn't lie down for us. Kept sort of pushing for the goals. Like I say, they weren't particularly good at the back, so I felt confident that we could score goals against them. But going forward, they really did provide a threat, but gave us the 3-2 lead going, as I say, back to Rotterdam for the second leg. Going to be an interesting tie. And I'll tell you what, it comes after this game in the league against Villarreal, and it's an absolute roller coaster. Really, really enjoyable game, which you'll see after this one. But first off, as I said, we're kind of taking each game as it comes at the moment. Back to matters in the league, where we still had that 7-point gap ahead of Barcelona, with them to come at the end of the month. And it was another really tough game. Villarreal, who were sort of in a three-way battle for that final Europa League spot. There's 3 teams going for it. There's Villarreal, Bilbao, and possibly Sevilla or one other, and I think they were separated by 1 point, so they've definitely got something to play for as well. The Yellow Submarine, great team to do a career mode with, have a brilliant stadium, fantastic kits as well. Pretty decent squad as well, a couple of players that maybe aren't up to it, but definitely one that would be interesting to do a career mode save with. Obviously, they've recently won the Europa League after beating Man United a couple of years ago now in that penalty shootout. So yeah, definitely an interesting side to do a career mode with. We were 2-0 up in this one. Both our wingers getting on the score sheet. Carrasco with the first, and then Thomas Lemar with a fantastic goal, Adama Traore style, cutting in from the right hand side on his left foot and just bending it into the top corner. But Villarreal, as I said before the game, having a good season, weren't going to give up and managed to get back into the game through Manu Trigueros with a fantastic strike past Jan Oblak. But with 15 minutes to go, we brought on some fresh legs. We knew that they had to push. Obviously, being a goal down, they were going to try and get back into it. And Mateus Cunha, who actually got brought on the left-hand side, with Morata, the Spanish archer, coming on for some more minutes up top. And it was those two who combined. Cunha down the left just had so much pace, those fresh legs down the side of the Villarreal defence, pulls it back inside. You see him getting away from Juan Foyt. Great cut back into Morata, who's unmarked in the penalty area, and well, we couldn't really miss. And again, like I said, after the Sociedad game, it was a really tough one. We had to battle, we had to sort of grind out the result, but we're just taking it one game at a time at the moment, making sure we get the job done. Obviously, we're playing in 3 sort of major competitions this year, so we've got to make sure that we're using the squad wisely. We've got a lot of games coming up, especially April. You'll see, I believe, at the end of this episode is a particularly busy month. So as we sort of get to the crunch period of the season, you know, we've got to keep this form going. We're still unbeaten in the league, which is absolutely fantastic. I'll be honest, I'm not really sure how we've managed to keep that run going. It's not something, I know, like, people always say it, and like managers in football always say if they're on a good run, like, it's not something they pay attention to. They just sort of focus on each game as and when it comes. But I'll be honest, I haven't really been paying attention to it. It was just sort of one of those things, like, we started the season well and then we just continued to win, and obviously we've not really drawn too many either. We've won the majority of our games in the league. And it's one of those things that just sort of gone a little bit unnoticed. But as we get towards the end of the season, we've obviously got that 7-point lead, which is the most important thing. But I said it a couple of episodes ago, if we can go unbeaten and have an invincible season, it would be like just ridiculous. I can't remember the last time I actually did that in a career mode. I did have back on FIFA 20, I believe, a really long-standing career mode, and that was really good fun. It was a little bit like this series where we sort of travelled around and managed a few different clubs, won quite a few trophies in different countries, which is obviously the aim of this one. And that's probably the last time I actually managed it. I haven't played career mode in a while, but I have to say I'm really enjoying this save. And that, we've obviously been doing fantastically well, still unbeaten in the league, doing well in Europe as well, sort of, if you exclude the Champions League elimination in the group stage. But speaking of Europe, back in the Europa League here, away in Rotterdam, obviously had the 3-2 advantage going into this one. And early on in the game, it was that man again, Angel Correa. He's been fantastic for us this year. I sort of said at the start of the season I wasn't sure who my main man up top was going to be, but he has cemented that place. Morata's kind of third choice striker with Mateus Cunha as the main backup, and Cunha's done well when he's had moments, but Angel Correa's been the main man. So him and João Felix have been fantastic, and you saw in the highlights package, he gave us the lead with a fantastic goal on his left foot, sort of sliding and scooping the ball past the keeper. And then literally directly from the kickoff, Feyenoord kicked off, played the ball to the centre-back, who took a heavy touch. Correa just stormed in. I thought at first it might have been a foul because he sort of came from behind, but I think he did get the ball first and then maybe a little bit of the man. Drove through on goal and fired it into the top corner. Another fantastic finish by him. But again, in this tie, Feyenoord would just not lay down, wouldn't give up on getting through to the quarterfinals, and they got a penalty of their own. We were just saying in the build-up to our second goal, a potential foul by Correa. Well, Santiago Jimenez, who scored the late goal at the Metropolitano, did dispatch the penalty, but I'll be honest, I'm not so sure it was. I did kind of make a lunge with Molina, but I'm not sure he was actually anywhere near the man, who just sort of went over regardless. Referee gave it, so not really anything we can do. But I said at half time we still had the 2-goal advantage. Said to the boys, let's just go out there, let's play our game, never mind what sort of decisions the referee's making. Let's go out there, play our game. And Angel Correa, once again, this is a fantastic finish. Not a lot of space to fire the ball in. Hits it hard though, and the ball rises into the sort of top of the net. Fantastic finish by him, completed his hat-trick, and at that point 6-3 we were feeling pretty confident. But I said this game was a roller coaster. We were playing with a lot of confidence, maybe a little bit too much confidence, as Feyenoord again would find a way back into the game. They were always sort of behind in this tie, but just never giving up. It was Rasmus Falk who got slid through. Not sure what I was doing with Torres and Jimenez, both of them going towards the ball, and Rasmus Falk gets played through. But again, from kickoff I was feeling pretty calm until Ronaldo fucking hoofed the ball forward, giving it straight back to Feyenoord, and you can see they had to push men forward. Molina misses the challenge, and as it gets worked into the box, we managed to win the ball back. You can see 6 or 7 bodies for Feyenoord forward, and as Adama plays a clever ball into Llorente, he slides it through to Cunha off the bench once again, like against Villarreal where he had that pace off the bench, gets in behind and does slam it home past the keeper to make it 4-2 on the night and 7-4 on aggregate. As I say, it was a roller coaster of a game. It kind of looked like we'd score a goal or two and we'd sort of extend our lead, but Feyenoord just would not lay down. Eventually the final whistle goes for a 7-4 aggregate victory, Correa with the hat-trick on the evening in Rotterdam, and we just sort of keep on going in the Europa League. We have been going really strong. Obviously got past Union Berlin pretty convincingly in the end, and again there, despite a little bit of a scare from Feyenoord, we do manage to progress through to the quarterfinals, and we will be playing Real Betis of Spain, of course, the team that we played in the semi-finals of the Copa del Rey. Managed to get past them pretty convincingly, but actually in the round of 16, I believe it was, Inter Milan and Arsenal both got knocked out, and they were the two, along with Manchester United, that I was kind of looking at going, yeah, let's try and avoid them. We don't want to play them. And I have a feeling if we don't get drawn against them in the semis, it could be us against Manchester United in the final. Obviously, if both of us get there, I believe they had Fenerbahce, who actually knocked out Inter Milan. So not an easy tie for them. But nonetheless, Man United are always overpowered in career mode. They always end up with like a super team. So yeah, a little bit nervous about the Europa League run, but Real Betis, obviously we've played them I think twice in the league, or possibly just once. We might still have to play them. Obviously played them in a two-legged affair in the Copa del Rey. We know their main man Mikel Antonio is a bit of a danger. And yeah, it'll be tough, but I'm feeling pretty confident. We know them pretty well, so it's not like an unknown entity like we had against Union Berlin and Feyenoord, where we don't really know how good they're going to be, or how good or bad they're going to be. But yeah, we know them already, having played them in the domestic league this season and the cup. So yeah, looking forward to that one. Feeling pretty confident that we can get through it. You saw the upcoming ties for the month of April, where obviously we've got the Copa del Rey final as well against Real Madrid, and also those two ties against Betis with loads of league games. I think we've got 5 league games possibly in the month of April as well, so loads of fixtures to get played. I am thinking that we'll probably sim a few of those league games because we've got some more favourable ties, but I don't want to sim the whole rest of the season because I want to play it out. We're obviously going for the league. If we do manage to wrap it up, then obviously we'll be simming all of the league games because it will be done and dusted, but not done yet. And obviously this was the huge one away at technically the Camp Nou, but it's not the Camp Nou because they don't have the licensing anymore in FIFA. But away at the Camp Nou against Barcelona, they had a pretty strong team. Their defence was a little bit weaker, so I was thinking that we may be able to get some chances. But I'll be honest, guys, I was really bad in this game. I was playing it quite late on, and I'd also been playing for quite a while, and I knew this was going to be my last sort of game of the session. And I played really, really bad in this one. Didn't really create a lot. You saw we had a bit of a half chance from Joao Felix, and Lewandowski had sort of the best chance of the first half, but it was one of those games where there was like so many turnovers in possession. Both teams sort of came forward, but then lost the ball in sort of the attacking third, and nothing really major got created. As you can see from the chances we did have, they were more sort of half chances, nothing really clear cut. This one went close from Tom Alderweireld, I do think, to Stegen had it covered, but as I say, I was just really poor in this game, didn't really create anything too clear cut. We had a chance here as the ball falls to Rodrigo de Paul at the back post, hit it first time, and it was a good stop in the end by ter Stegen, but you can see from the angle behind the goal, he sort of goes really far across to the near post and then has to come back across. Does make the save in the end and pushes it out for the corner, which is eventually cleared. But like I say, I really lacked any sort of creative product in this game. Didn't play particularly well. You can see from like the passing here, we just weren't very good. Just one of those games for me. And as Barcelona came forward here, Frenkie de Jong had a chance to play it into Lewandowski. Eventually Alderweireld gets a foot in, and it was just sort of anywhere will do. We knew that a point for us was probably a better result than for them. A point would keep the gap at 7 points, whereas obviously if Barcelona won, the gap would be cut to just 4. But it was the most anticipated game of the season, Obviously, we played them quite early on in La Liga at home, so we'd been waiting for this game for quite a while. It'd kind of been us two out at the top of the league. Real Madrid dropped off quite a bit, so it does look like it'll be a two-horse race. And in typical fashion, it was a 0-0 draw, and you can sort of see the reaction after the game. Barcelona fans in full voice, but it kind of felt like that was their chance missed. We'd have to slip up quite a lot, considering that we've not lost yet this season. Still got the best defence in the league as well, which is fantastic to see. And 29 games played, 24 wins, 5 draws and no losses. 9 fixtures left to play, with Barcelona, obviously that game there already being played. It means that they need us to slip up quite a lot to close the gap. But anyway, guys, that will do it for this episode of the Glory Hunter Save. I hope you have enjoyed, and I hope to catch you soon. Peace.